Hey, what's up, guys? Here on the Fire Sports Pod, where everything we got is hot. I'm your host, Zach Jackson, here with my guest host and good friend of mine, Adonis. Pleasure you jumping on again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, guys, we are powered by StreamYard, where StreamYard makes the dream yard go. Let's get right into the show I have. This is currently season 5, episode number 6. Let's get right into it. So, first up, guys, we have to go over are we going to pick the panic button? Are we going to push the panic button, or are we going to give some leeway to some teams that are 1 and 2 right now? Obviously, we're going to be going over the AFC first, and then we're going to go over the NFC. We're going to give me and Adonis's take on each of the teams that are 1 and 2 and which teams do we think we should push the panic button on, and which ones do we give a little bit more leeway. So let's start with the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, we know with Tua Tagovailoa, he's out for a significant amount of time. They did not look good this past week. So what are we guessing, Adonis, for Miami? Is it panic, or do we give them a little bit more leeway?
Well, with their current situation that they have right now, definitely panic. If they don't make any trades, because with Skylar Thompson, I don't see them win another game with Skylar
And he
Thompson.
got an injury too.
And he's
This
injured. They put in Tim Boyle, like a journeyman. So with the current state of the roster right now, definitely hit the panic button. However, there's still light at the end of the tunnel. I think, you know, if I was the GM for the Dolphins, I would definitely look into trading for Bryce Young. I know there were reports that Bryce Young teams have offered trades for him,
yeah.
but maybe they were potentially one of those teams. I know I would be if I was the GM of the Dolphins. And another avenue they can look forward to into, which I saw a report that they might, is that Russell Wilson as well. With Justin Fields pretty much claiming his spot for Pittsburgh right now. You are happy? I'm happy
Yeah,
for it too. But
I told everybody Justin Fields should have stayed in Chicago. I think Chicago would be a much better record than they are right now with Caleb Williams. But he's doing his thing with Pittsburgh, and it's in a tougher division and a tougher opponents in the AFC. So I give him all the credit in the world. But I would have to agree with you with Miami. I think it's the panic button. I would say if they do make a move, like you said, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I would agree with that. Both quarterbacks that you said. There was also a report. It's not happening. I know it's not happening. Tom Brady coming out of retirement and him going to Miami because his kids are there close. I saw multiple reports about this by people. I'm like, bro, he's getting paid $30 million a year to be a broadcaster, sit in a booth.
Sit in a booth.
Why the hell would he come out of retirement to get his, like, you're 47. You've been 2 years removed from the NFL. Like, your body's not going to react the same way. Now, if he was still in the league, that's a different story, but you're out of 2 years. There's no way you're going to be able to sustain that. And if he gets hurt, like, you can get paralyzed being at that age. You can get paralyzed anytime, but at that age especially, like, I don't think you want to take that chance. So I would say that's not happening. So for me, panic button unless they make a trade. Do you agree with that?
100%. That's where I'm at.
All right,
because with their current situation, they ain't going nowhere.
They're not doing. They have a great offense. They just the quarterback is the missing piece, and they right now don't have any of them. So now New England staying in the same division of the AFC East. New England's a bit of a toss-up. They surprised out a lot of people with the first win with Jacoby Brissett, and then the last 2 losses have been and then they put in Drake May, the last one against the Jets. I mean, he didn't play a lot. He didn't look that bad, but he didn't look that great.
I mean, it was garbage time, so you can't really evaluate his situation in garbage time. But
exactly. So I'm gonna start this one off. I'm gonna say I would have to say panic. I just don't know what they are. Like, I know what Miami is with a quarterback. I don't know what New England is. Right now, they're nothing to me. Like, they don't have. There's no missing piece. They have many missing pieces, and they need to establish that in the next couple of years. They're a rebuilding team. I didn't think they were going to do a lot this year. I think I had them at 4 wins total. So I really don't think them doing that much. But I like Drake May. I think he should get more of a run. I think Jacoby Brissett is just he doesn't fit in that type of scheme. Maybe another trade could maybe be Jacoby Brissett to Miami. Who knows? Like something like that. You get a veteran presence with Tyreek Hill. I think that would be a third guy that would be great there. Not to mention Bryce Young and Russell Wilson with those speedy wide receivers and that defense and the offense that they have there. So that could be a potentially thing. But I just don't think New England is good enough. So I would say panic. They have too many question marks.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I don't really know if this is even panicking because do we really expect them to do anything this season? Like you said, you
Yeah,
had them winning
exactly.
4 games. I didn't predict it, but I definitely would have them around that. So it is what it is with them. I honestly think they're doing better than what I thought they would do. Obviously beating the
Yeah,
Bengals, they competed against the Seahawks. I know they got kind of blown out by the Jets, but that's expected.
yeah, exactly. All
I'm
right,
with
so we kind of both agree with both Miami and New England. But Miami's big of a panic. New England's more of like we kind of expected this, but they're actually not as bad, but still panic
as
because
we
they're
thought.
still yeah.
Definitely.
Now we would have to move the Brights. The crazy thing is in this division is probably the best division in football. Steelers are running away with it. They're 3-0 again his first 3 games, but Justin Fields looks great. He's doing enough to win.
Still early. Still early.
Baltimore is 1-2. They did beat my Cowboys yesterday. I like their offense, but their defense great, giving up 20, giving up. I believe it was 15. No, yeah, 15 or 16 points in the fourth quarter. That's not a
Yeah.
good thing. You got to close that out. I would have rather, to me, as a Cowboys fan, I would have rather get blown out than have us come all the way back and then still lose.
And still
Um,
lose.
yeah,
Thank
I
Trayvon
just,
Diggs.
huh?
I said thank Trayvon Diggs. You guys would have
Yeah,
had
I
a
know.
chance to win.
Yeah, but I mean, we had plenty of chances. We should have never been down 28-6. That's another. We'll discuss that when we get
Topic
to
for
the
another
end.
day.
Yeah, exactly. The Ravens, though, I would not say panic. They have a good team. They've played against the Bengals and the Chiefs. I mean,
Yeah.
and you
That's a
basically,
gauntlet already there. First 2 games,
basically
that's a gauntlet.
first 3 games, bro. They played
Oh,
for the
with the Cowboys as well. You're
From
right.
last year, if you looked at position wise, and even this year, if you look at the points, they played 3 close games. They
Yeah.
lost by a combined maybe 10, 13 points in 3 games. I mean, I don't know what you could do with that. They've lost
Hmm.
3, 7, and then 3. He had 13 points in 3 games. I mean, they played 3 of the top teams coming into this year. I mean, I don't understand how you could say panic. Now, if they would have dropped against the Cowboys, then we may be looking at a panic. But the fact that they won, now we can give them a little bit more props. That's me for Baltimore. I would say there's no panic. What do you say?
Man, I mean, you've been spot on. Like with everything you said, I don't believe it's a panic at all. I think they handled business like they should against the Cowboys. I wouldn't say it was a must win, but they needed to win this game. Like it wasn't again. Like I wouldn't say they. It was like I wouldn't even panic if they would have lost because I know Lamar Jackson. He's a former MVP. I know what he's capable of. He's been to the conference championship. So with that being said, I don't have any panic at all. They handled business. They did what they needed to do, and yeah, I look forward to keep seeing them progress. Derrick Henry just got introduced to the new offense. So it took him a while to kind of see where he fit in that role and that with that scheme that they run in Baltimore. So I'm looking forward to Baltimore continuing to success.
Yeah, I definitely agree with
Moving
that.
forward.
Derrick Henry's a big pickup. He had over 150 yards against us last night. He ran the
And you
ball
could
like
see
20
when they need to run the ball and kind of run the clock out, Derrick
damn.
Henry said, just feed the ball to the king.
Yeah, exactly. Cleveland, I I'm sorry, I gotta hit panic. I don't like Cleveland's situation. They don't have Nick Chubb for a little bit
Yeah.
longer. He's not gonna come out of nowhere and be the same guy he was a year and a half ago. Deshaun Watson looks a shell of himself. He doesn't look like the same quarterback he was in Houston. There's been another accusation that's been put on him again from 2020. I just there's too many question marks. Amari Cooper is now questionable with an injury. I just don't trust Deshaun Watson anymore. I want to believe that I can. I like Deshaun. I liked him as a player. I
Me
loved
too.
his attitude towards the game. But right now, it's like I don't like.
Yeah,
I would have to say panic for them. It's just they need to. Their defense is not as potent and on top of the as they were last year. And to be honest, this team looks better with Joe Flacco than it does with Deshaun Watson. I hate to even say that, but it does. It looks like it's a more of a. It looked more free. Again, they didn't even have Nick Chubb last year, and I'm saying that. So imagine with Nick Chubb. So we'll see what happens, but I personally
yeah.
don't think that this is going to be the best of the best. I think something's got to
I
change.
kind of again I know it's a podcast, but I agree with you again because I mean losing to the Giants, it's not that they lost to the Giants, but it's the fashion in which they lost to the Giants, allowing the Giants, giving up 8 sacks, allowing the Giants to get 8 sacks. The Giants, I know they got, their D-line is one of the better D-lines in football, but still, like, that's not Giant, like, football for us to get 8 sacks. Me coming from a Giant fan. So, I definitely am hitting the panic button as well. Their defense is still solid. I still think they're a solid defense. It's just that the offense just hasn't clicked for whatever reason. Like you said, I'm a Deshaun believer, but I don't know if this the massage. He's not getting massages anymore. Like massage therapists are not are afraid to give him massages, so he's not in the right state of mind. I don't know what it is with Deshaun. It just hasn't clicked. His offensive line, I will give him that. His offensive line has been injured. He didn't have his right tackle last week. Jedrick Willis did get hurt during the Giant game. So that was one of the main indicators of why he got sacked a lot last game. But still, like, I'm definitely in the panic button. I'm not a believer in the Browns at all, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. All right, cool. Cincinnati, I think this is going to be quick. I don't really have to say anything. I think yours will be quick as well. There's no panic. They've started the past 6 or 7 years, or 5 to 7 years. They've started 0-2, and they made it to the playoffs. 4 out of those 6, I believe. So I have no panic. Joe Burrow is one of the top quarterbacks in the league. This team is still, if you put on paper, they're probably one of the best teams in the league, put on paper, player to player. So I would say that there's no panic here.
I'm about to disagree with you on this one. I think I'm hitting the panic button just off of, if we're considering hitting the panic button as far as them being contenders. Because if you look at the AFC, there's so many good teams, so many, like we said, the Ravens. We haven't got to the Texans, but the Texans, obviously the Chiefs. If I'm putting them in that category of teams, I'm definitely hitting the panic button just based off of, I just don't like the way they look so far. I don't like the way Joe Burrow has looked. I don't know if he's injured or not. I know he had a little wrist problem. But, I just don't like the way Joe Burrow has looked so far. Their defense is spotty. It's okay. It's not great. The running game is definitely, I think, a problem and a question mark for them. The loss of Joe Mixon, I think, is starting to rear his head a little bit. So I definitely am gonna say I'm gonna be honest. I'm at the panic button on the Bengals.
All right. Well, this is a podcast. We're supposed to debate. I'm happy that you actually disagreed with this one, because I have a little bit of a mixed emotions with this, but I can't count out Joe Burrow. I mean, they were one play away from, they were one pass interference call away from winning a game against the Chiefs. So, I mean, there was a lot of different stuff that could have gone wrong. But, all right, that's a solid take. Now moving to the AFC South, we have a couple teams, Jacksonville, Indiana, the Colts, and Tennessee. Tennessee's 0-3. They're panic. They suck. There's nothing really to, like, go into anything.
The crazy thing is, if Will Levis doesn't do what Will Levis has been doing, they could be easily 2-1.
That's true.
They should have beat the Jets. I forgot who they played in week 2, but I feel like they should have beat them as well. So they're not terrible. They're not. I don't think they're an 0-3 team. They're just Will Levis is playing like some shit.
I just don't think. But they're not contenders. So now at being 0-3, they have to be a panic button, because they're not, unless some magic happens and a genie drops in Tennessee and these guys like span out 9 straight wins. They're not doing nothing. They're not beating any top teams when it gets down to the wire. I'm sorry. It's not happening. They're not going to even beat anybody in their division. I don't think they're beating Jacksonville. I don't think they're beating the Colts. I don't think they're beating the Texans. Huh?
You don't think they can beat the Jaguars?
No, I think the Jaguars are actually good. I just think that they just can't put everything together. But against Tennessee, dude, like, you have to play bad in order to lose against Tennessee. They're not beating you. If Jacksonville plays the way they played, they can play. Like, Trevor Lawrence plays good. Travis Etienne plays good. Like, they have good players. If they just play the way they're supposed to play, they'll win the game. If the Tennessee doesn't have this great defense, Tennessee doesn't have this great offense, they just are a very gutsy team that they get into situations where they could win, but because their quarterback doesn't want to make smart decisions, they lose those games. So that's on them. I would say panic, because they're 0-3, just because they're 0-3. If they were 2-1, that's a different story, or 1-2.
Yeah.
But Jacksonville's another one. I'm not going to pick panic just yet, but if they drop to 0-3 this week coming up, I'm going to have to hit panic. Actually, I think they play tonight.
They play tonight.
Yeah. So if they lose tonight, then it's panic. Right now, I'm saying no. The Colts, no panic for me. Because I think Anthony Richardson is just playing bad. Like they're not even playing bad as a team. I just think he's playing
The
very
defense
bad.
has actually played very well. Their
Yes,
defense has been
their
not
offense
very
is
well because they kind of struggled against the Texans, but it is the Texans. But
yeah.
they should. I mean, they've been all right. It's just been Anthony Richardson. It's been spotty throwing the ball. He's had
Yeah,
great plays, but his accuracy has been off.
yeah. I don't
And
know
I'm not
what happened.
saying he didn't come into the league being like, oh, I'm this great pocket passer, being known as being
No,
accurate,
he
but
was more
still,
like a Cam Newton type of guy.
he still
Like
needs to
that.
do better than he's doing. I think he
Yeah,
will.
yeah. All right, cool. So I think we both wait. Do you agree with Tennessee as a panic?
Yeah, absolutely. Jacksonville, I am panicking because I think they're losing tonight. I'm gonna be honest.
Who are they
I
playing
definitely
again?
is it they're in they play Buffalo in Buffalo.
Oh, oh,
So that should be an L. So they definitely should be 0-3. I don't see them doing anything in the AFC South. I'm definitely going to panic on them as
that's
well.
tough. All
And with the
right,
Colts, yeah, I don't hit the panic yet.
that's tough. All right. Well then, okay, cool. So then the Colts, you said no panic, right?
Yeah, no panic on the Colts.
All right, cool. All right, now move to the AFC West. Um, I would say the Raiders. I would say Denver for me, even though they just came off a good win, which
Mm-hmm.
was a very questionable win. I don't know how they put up the amount of points that they did. I did not see that coming. I
Yeah.
believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just checking my phone to make sure the score. They won 26-7 to one of the top teams in the NFC, the Bucks, who just went to the playoffs last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand that.
A great win.
Huh?
It was a great win. And
Yeah,
Tampa, I'm pretty sure.
it was a great win in Tampa, but I don't think they can sustain that. I kind of think that they got lucky. That's just my take. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
Denver's that type of a team. I don't think they really have like consistency throughout the entire team of offense and defense. So I would have to say panic. The Raiders, on the other hand, I don't think they are panicked. I just think they need to Gardner Minshew just needs to play like he played with the Colts last year. And he kind of tapped into that just this past game. So I think the Raiders can do some things. Do I think they're going to compete? No, but I think they're going to give some teams like the Chiefs, the Chargers, and teams in the AFC some run for their money because they're not a bad team defensively and offensively. They can put up some points. They just have to hope their defense creates some turnovers and stuff like that because Gardner Minshew is not putting up 35. So they would have to play with their defense. But yeah, what are your takes on the Raiders and the Broncos? And then we can move to the NFC quick.
All right. I'm gonna go through this fast. For the Raiders, I'm definitely hitting the panic button. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna take a different route than you. I just
All
feel
right.
like they I'm not a big fan of Minshew, if I'm gonna be honest. I feel like he's already hit his floor. He's a quarterback that has a floor. He's already hit his
Ceiling.
sorry, not a floor, ceiling. He's already hit his ceiling. He's a person that's he'll have good games where he'll throw 250 yards, 2-3 touchdowns, and then he'll have games he gave you last week where he throws a bummer and stinks it up. I think they're actually going to trade Devonta. If I was them, I was looking to trade Devonta Adams, get back good compensation for him, and kind of just go in rebuild mode because they really don't have, you know, anything they don't have a franchise quarterback, and I think they just need to look to rebuild and kind of just move in that direction and not look as just staying, in the median, if that makes any sense.
Gotcha.
And for what was the other team? The Broncos, right? The
Denver.
Broncos they're in rebuild mode. I like their defense. Bo Nix is still a work in progress. He's gonna continue to improve, but I'll hit the panic on them as well.
Okay, cool. All right, now guys, we're gonna move to the NFC. Right now we have a couple teams in the NFC East that we
I'm
have to
interested to
go
see
over.
what you say now. I'm interested what
Uh,
you're gonna say about the Cowboys.
oh yeah, you're not gonna be surprised, but you might be a little surprised. So I'll just listen to the way I put it, and then you'll be like, all right, now I get what he's saying. All right, so for Washington, I think it's too early for them to say anything. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be actually the best quarterback out of that draft class. I've been saying that since the draft. I think Caleb Williams is a bust. I don't like him at all. I've never liked him.
Bust?
Yeah, I don't like him at all. I don't.
Bust
Like,
is insane.
Dude, he threw
You
for
know, a
over.
bus is like Jamarcus Russell. A bus is like Jamarcus Russell.
He
Like,
threw for 340 yards last night, and he had 2 interceptions, and they lost the game because of him. So
it's still early. It's early. It's his third
That's fine.
game.
But
It's his third game.
I gotta stick with it because I've been saying it since his draft. I've been saying it before.
I know,
the
and I
draft.
remember last time I was on, I told you that he wouldn't be a bust. So I'm gonna stick with it. That he is the best quarterback in this draft. You'll see.
Okay, cool.
We will see.
Okay, all right. But for the Commanders, I think they're in rebuilding mode. I like the coach Dan Quinn. I think they'll be a good team where they'll compete against some teams that are like out of their league. But I think I would say panic because I just don't think that they're good enough to consistently sustain multiple wins at a time. The Giants, they're hit or miss. It really depends on if Daniel Jones plays actually good football, they actually can win some games. I think I had them going 6 or 7 wins on the season. I'm not so sure. Maybe I forgot what I did. It's either 6 to 8. I don't know. I was actually pretty generous as being a thing. I was also generous to the Eagles and the Commanders.
6 wins is generous.
I said 6 to 8, so I'm looking at that. But also the Giants, they have too many question marks. They don't. I mean, Neighbors. I like Neighbors. I think he's a great wide receiver. I think he's going to be another good one. But you have Daniel Jones who's throwing him the football. He's not a good quarterback. I'm sorry, everyone. I know you tell me he's not a good quarterback. I know you. Come on, he's not a good quarterback.
He's a competent quarterback. He's competent.
No, he's average at best. You got to admit that he's average at best.
You can. If you set Daniel Jones with the right pieces around him, you can win with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
We've seen it already.
They don't set him up. They've set him up 1 year out of his entire career, and everything else has been up and down.
We're moving in the right direction. But
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's like going to be a bad season. I just don't think that there's been games that you should have won that you've lost. Against Washington, you should have beat them. You lost.
Yeah.
There was only one game. You guys should be 2-1 right now, technically.
We should. No, we really should. Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. Now with the Cowboys, obviously did not expect us to get killed against New Orleans, but that's what we do sometimes. We did that against Arizona last year. Then against Baltimore, should have never went down that much. The running defense is still terrible. Don't know what the hell.
The running game is terrible. The running game
and the run defense.
Offense and defense.
Yeah, it's terrible. But I would, if we lose to you guys on Thursday, then it's panic, and I'm gonna say the season's kind of over. I'm gonna hold down the panic button because I am a believer of the Cowboys. I do think that they will do some things, but it has to come now. It starts with the Giants. If we can't beat the Giants, we're not beating anybody. I don't care if it's 4 games into the season. I don't give a shit. Then prove me wrong, Dallas. If you lose against the Giants and go 1-3 and then you drop off 10 straight, okay, then you proved me wrong. But if that doesn't happen, I'm sorry. It is what it is. I'm a realist. You know me, Adonis. I'm a realist Cowboys fan. I'll tell you when we're good, tell you when we're bad. Yeah. I don't like the way we're looking right now. It really depends on how. If we come out and we barely beat you guys, I still don't like it. If we put up 40 and our
y'all demolish us, I still don't like y'all. To be honest,
I don't know because you're playing.
Y'all demolished us for like the last 3 years. Y'all have beat us down every single time we played.
Out of the 14 games. So yes, we should demolish you. So if we don't even demolish you, we have a problem. Even if we do, we got to see what we play next, which I believe is
exactly.
I don't know if that's Detroit. I think I forgot what it was, but we play another good formidable opponent, I believe. I think it's not the Falcons. I don't know who we play next, but definitely. We definitely have a lot of question marks, especially on our defense. Of all things, it's really our defense.
Yeah, even the offense. If I'm gonna be honest, you guys have a lot of question marks on both sides of the football. Just from what I saw last against the Ravens. For one,
no, we play the Steelers next.
It used to be a staple for your offense, your offensive line, non-existent yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't know who your left tackle was or your left guard that was getting beat every single play by Illinois.
Smith, yeah.
No, not him. It was a new guy. I think his number was like 65.
They switched him then. But But yeah, we play the
It was
Steelers after
embarrassing.
the Giants. We play the Steelers after the Giants, so that's a formidable opponent. They're 3-0.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a tough one. If we beat the Steelers, they have a top 10 defense, top 5 actually might be, because their defense is crazy. And their offense is doing as much as to get the win. So I don't know, but for me, those are my stats. And
Yeah.
for the NFC East, I mean for the NFC North. There's only one team, and I'm not going to pick the panic button on Chicago. I think Chicago will be able to get some more wins. I'm just running through this right now. Atlanta, no panic button. Kirk Cousins, I think, is okay. I think they'll be fine. Carolina, I actually like the way they play with Andy Dalton. I actually don't dislike that. I actually think that the Panthers are actually going to be a little bit better with Andy Dalton. Sad to say, with Bryce Young, he's just too young of a quarterback to have no offense and to no weapons and really have the stench of being a bust and everything on him.
You consider him a bust, though? Would you consider Bryce Young a bust?
No, depending on where he's going. If he moves, if he doesn't move, then he's a bust because he's getting benched for Andy Dalton. And not saying Andy Dalton's bad, but he's like 50 years old. He feels like he's been in the league forever, and he's still doing some good things. So I would say that I give Bryce Young another couple years just to see if he goes somewhere. But if he goes to another place with a top 10 talent of offensive side of the ball and they do nothing, then I would have to say label him as a bust. I don't know. Bryce Young's weird. I like him as a quarterback. I just think he needs to be in the right system.
It's weird. I just feel like he's so small. He's so puny. It's like you can't see over offense.
Kyler Murray was the same thing, and Russell Wilson was the same
thing. Kyler Murray's athletic, though. Kyler Murray is an athletic quarterback, so he kind of, he makes up for his size with his athleticism.
Yeah, I get you. I just think we got to give him a shot with another team. Same with Daniel Jones.
Yeah. No,
Daniel
definitely.
Jones,
same with Daniel Jones. I mean, same thing with Baker Mayfield. People are calling Baker Mayfield a bust, but his whole debacle.
I told him, why are you saying that? Let him go to an actual good team that's going to support him and make him the focal point as the quarterback. And look what he's doing in Tampa. Yes, they threw up a stinker against Carolina, but they put up
Pro Bowler last year. Baker Mayfield was a Pro Bowler last year.
Exactly, and I think he's been a great quarterback. And same thing. And it's not me saying that Caleb Williams is going to be bad. I just don't like. I've seen the big time games that he's played in college. I've seen the games that he's played against shitty teams in college. He's very inconsistent. He's too wild with the football. Like, there's a gunslinger, and then there's someone that's going to throw across his body 40 yards down the field because trying to make a crazy play. I've seen that already. Against Tennessee, he did that, and he almost got picked off. There's been plenty of times. Against Houston, he did that. I don't like that. If you're going to be that type of quarterback, you got to make sure you get the ball to them. That's why Patrick Mahomes is like so godly great, because he gets the ball to those guys when he does that. Again, he's young, but Patrick Mahomes was doing that as soon as he went into the league. So
we'll revisit the Caleb Williams topic, because I could go on and on about Caleb Williams.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get that back. We'll definitely get that back. But right before we get off, the last division we have to kind of go over is the NFC West, which is a very weird division with multiple teams.
1 and 2. Wow.
Yeah. Before we get off, I definitely got to hit this. Arizona. I like Arizona. To be honest, I like Arizona. I think they're going to be great this year. I don't think they're going to be contending, but I think they can contend against Seattle in that division.
You think they can make the playoffs? You think they're a playoff team?
They're a sneaky playoff team. Remember the word sneaky. Like, they can sneak into a playoff with a 9-8 record or a 10-7 record, but they're not going to be that top. They might not even eclipse 10 wins. I think it really depends on how the division is going and how the rest of the NFC is going. They might just miss the playoffs, but they're going to be good for the following years. Kyle Murray's back. Marvin Harrison is great. I love that guy.
Marvin Harrison is not better than Neighbors, but I do like Marvin. He's just polished. He's a polished receiver.
I love Neighbors.
I think he has a ceiling. I think Neighbors could be on the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson type of player.
I've seen that. I think Marvin Harrison is I personally think, but again, I might be a little biased because I've watched a lot of Marvin Harrison. I'm an Ohio State fan, so I've watched it for a while. I've watched all the receivers that came before him for the last 12 years. And I like Marvin Harrison really. I just like his route running, his big playability. Malik Neighbors, same thing. I've watched him too. I like him as well. I just don't know so much about it because I wasn't watching him in Washington. I was watching Ohio State. Washington was able to see some games come playoff time, but really wasn't able to hone in. So you might have more information since he's more of on your team. But yeah, I think the Rams, they're too injury prone. I think they're going to actually be last in the division this year. Puka and Cooper are out. Their defense is not as good 100%. As they were a couple of years ago. Matthew Stafford's getting older and older. You plug him into another offense like Miami, you're talking about a different Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford.
If you plug him in Miami, you're looking at Matthew Stafford going to be MVP. I'm telling you right now. And he might
still can sling it. Matthew Stafford, don't get it twisted. He might be 40, but Matthew Stafford can sling it. Like,
but with nobody on his team, he can't do everything.
Yeah, he can't.
He has to have like a Miami type of team or a Rams team healthy. That's my thing. And then on top of that, San Francisco, they'll be fine. There's no panic button. So this whole division is no panic. I don't think there's any panic except for the Rams because of just the injuries. If they weren't injured, we'd be talking about a different story. So I would say Rams are panic. Cardinals, San Fran, no panic. I think San Fran's going to be back at the top of the division. Christian McCaffrey's hurt, and that's hurting them a lot. Their running game is not as good.
It's good, but it's not as good.
Yeah, and their play action has been lacking, and Brock Purdy hasn't been as good as he was because he doesn't have
because Brock Purdy is a system quarterback. Brock Purdy is not someone who could go off script.
I've been trying to tell people that, but people want to say
he's a system quarterback.
He's a good quarterback. He's not one of the greats. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. He's not a Lamar. He's not in that category. I feel a lot of people are saying he's up there because he's been going.
I know. It's like, why? Is he even a top 10 quarterback? Like,
I would say he's 10.
With the system he's in. Now, if you put him in a different system, he's not a top 10 quarterback.
No. With his results, he's a 10. With just a quarterback-wise, no, he's not. He's in the top 20, maybe top 15.
Yeah.
If at best. But no, system-wise, if you're talking about as a team, I would put him as the top 10 because just his system works perfectly for that type of quarterback.
Of course. But fuck it. For that matter, Daniel Jones, if you put him with the 49ers system, will be a top 10 quarterback. Come on.
Yeah, system-wise. And he can run much better than Brock Purdy. So. Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. But yeah, that's any last thoughts, Adonis, that you have on the 1 and 2 records for teams? If not, we'll conclude the show for today.
No, not really. If I would say, I really don't have anything. I think we were pretty spot on with everything. I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to being on more.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming
progresses. On, yeah, for sure. So I definitely am down to do this again. You know that.
Yeah.
So.
We gotta talk some Caleb Williams and talk some.
And we definitely gotta talk more Caleb Williams. And I am coming. I'm gonna be on the show next Monday. I don't know if we have a guest next Monday, but if the Giants, hear me out, the Giants beat the Cowboys.
No. I'm gonna have you on. No matter if the Cowboys win or the Giants win, I'll have you on Monday.
All right. Okay. That's
make that work.
Okay, we can do that.
All right. Sounds like a plan. I appreciate it, Adonis. Thanks again for jumping on. Guys, here on the Fire Sports Pod, where everything got is hot. I'm your host, Zach Jackson. This is my guest host, Adonis. We are powered by StreamYard, and I will catch you guys on Wednesday for season 5, episode number 7. We will have my special guest on, Irv. He'll be on to talk some NBA and NFL content. So let's get right into that. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out, guys.